So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great guest. It's the third member, a third cast member I've had on the show from Day of the Dead. It's Miranda Frigon. Miranda, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you for having me.
And I've got to say, I'm very, very excited because Day of the Dead is probably one of my favourite shows to date this year. I've already had Mike Dopud and Natalie on the show as well. And it's just fantastic. And I've got to say, I haven't watched the finale yet. I'm going to watch the finale after doing this interview. So I'm poised and I'm excited. So before we start chatting about that wonderful show, like I do normally, I want to check in and make sure, you know, everything's okay where you are. And you know, how have you kept positive and moving forwards? Because I know you've got a little one, a 4-year-old, the same as I've got a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, 2 girls. I mean, how have you kept, you know, being positive and moving forwards over the last 18 months?
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. It's probably been one of the hardest years of my life, as it has been for everyone. But I think, you know, I really work on acceptance and surrendering. And I think, you know, it's like yelling no at a war as opposed to taking it in, saying, this is what happens. This is what the situation is. This is where we're at. And so how can I move forward and still thrive in this type of environment? And I think the key is really to surrender and to just wear your mask, stop fighting against it. And when you can't change what's happening outside of you, you have to change the inside. And so that's really what I've been doing, what me and my family have been doing, is like, okay, this is the new normal. Instead of being angry, which a lot of people are and were at it, how can we live in a place of peace and gratitude for what we do have, and that we haven't lost anyone, thankfully, to this. And yeah, just every day, just thanking the universe for our lives and our.
And how have you coped with the little one during the pandemic? Because I mean, she's only 4, so I suppose at that age they're so resilient. They really are.
Yeah, so last January, I had actually been gone for about 5 months, doing Day of the Dead and a number of other projects in a row. And 2 days after I got back was Christmas Eve. My husband got COVID. This was before the vaccine was ever out, and he was so sick. And then my daughter caught it, and then I caught it. So we were inside for 35 days. And TV, which we didn't normally like to do for our child, was our friend. And, you know, she's been going to school. Like we've been sending her to preschool that we test 3 times a week or a couple times a week. Yeah, just creating our little bubbles with friends that we know are safe, and still trying to take her to a playground, just having the hand handy everywhere we go. But yeah, it's really been having to adjust to this new normal, and like making your child wear a mask and what that's doing to their development and their psyche of having to constantly wash their hands and everything has been a little crazy. But we're trying not to be too talk too much about the germs and all of that, but just sort of, this is just what we do, you know.
Yeah, I mean for myself, I mean my 8-year-old I think has had it the hardest because of friends going out to play, that social interaction. I mean, I don't want her to be, you know, one of these kids that are stuck to technology. I know technology is the future, but I feel really sad for her. But my 4-year-old, thankfully, you know, she thinks it's normal. You know what I mean? It's going to be one day we're not going to wear masks, and she'll be like, wait a second, what's going on? It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So sorry, go on.
No, I just said that's hard, yeah, for that age group and the teen, everybody that's suffering through that. I'm actually thankful that my daughter is at a young enough age that she doesn't quite, you know, that she's just growing up as it being normal.
I mean, sadly, she's currently got COVID, and so is my wife. So they're downstairs at the moment and not very well. And my 4-year-old, because she can't get tested because of her age, we've got an inkling that she may have it as well. And I had COVID about a month and a half ago, and it was the oddest experience. But I was vaccinated, and I had my booster yesterday as well. So Got to be part of
Yeah.
the solution, not the problem.
Yeah, I was not vaccinated, and I'm a very healthy, fit, you know.
Good.
We were it was the worst experience of my life, and I have after effects from it now too.
Mm. Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to be safe, mask up, and respect each other. I think that's that's key.
Yeah, I agree.
So, so why acting? Because it's got to be one of the hardest professions and the most grueling, and filled with rejection. But then you get the highs, and you're probably one of the busiest actors I've seen that's been on the show. I mean, why acting and not another profession?
Honestly, I grew up I started gymnastics when I was 3. My mother was head coach. I was in ballet since I was 4. I was doing piano lessons, everything. And I was the only child of 4 siblings that wanted to do all of this. And of course, my sister and we all had lessons, but I was just like, I want to do that now. I want to do that now. I want to do that now. And everything was about just creating and performing. And we were always putting on performances for my parents in the backyard. And I think since a young age, when we used to have non-digital books where they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I remember being little and there was lawyer, actress, singer. There was all these different things. And I would always click off actress. And I just always had this whenever I saw a movie with Hollywood in the background or New York City, it was just, I would get this feeling like I'm supposed to be there. Of course, things have changed. When I was younger, it was seeing the stars and I want to be on a billboard. Am I having a series in LA? And now it's I want to support my family. I want to do wonderful work and have a voice in the world. It's all different intentions now, but I just love performing. I love mostly making people laugh, which is funny because I always end up in these very dramatic roles. But I think from a young age, I was just meant to perform.
I mean, what was your biggest challenge starting out, in this industry?
Yeah, I think I remember doing an audition, and it was a Vancouver casting director who's no longer casting there, but I had done an audition and I was so proud of it. And this is kind of when I was just starting out. And my agent at the time had told me what he had said, and he had said, she's not special enough to be a lead. And that's stayed with me over the years, that I never thought that I deserved that or that I was ever going to get there. And so I think believing that my identity was wrapped up in what others thought of me, and getting outside validation was probably the biggest challenge, but also a wonderful, beautiful struggle that I had to go through to realize that the only way to get through this industry is to really learn how to love yourself, because you're going to get mostly no's. And I'm okay with that now. When I used to book a part, I'd be calling everyone I knew. I was so excited, but then it was equally the drop off when I would get the no. You would just base your self-worth on whether you got the part or not. And that was really challenging. And I think I've done a lot of personal growth work over the years to just sort of find myself and what's unique and special about me, and love that part of me, and know that every audition I'm doing, I'm bringing a bit of myself to. And if they don't give me a yes, it means it's someone else's turn, and there's just something better around the corner for me. So just having that mentality and growing into that, but it's taken 30 years to get there,
I mean, do you get any feedback, from auditions? You go for a part, and say if you didn't get it, I mean, do you get any feedback on why?
When I was younger, it used to be a big thing to ask for feedback from a casting director, just to see how did I do. And now I don't ask for feedback, because I know that if they're interested, then I'll get a phone call. And so, yeah, you can request feedback, but now with all this self-taping, instead of actually being in the room, some people's tapes don't even get watched. We don't even know. So I just do my best work, I throw it out there, and you forget about it and move on.
It's a bit like Go Fish. It's just see what catches. So, I mean, obviously the industry, as we said, can be challenging, but what do you love the most about this profession that you've chosen?
Oh man, there's so many things to love and so many things I don't love about it. What I love is like the families it creates. Day of the Dead was, I was probably one of the older cast members and kind of the mama bear in the show and also on set. And I think just like the relationships that you form, because you spend 12 hours a day, sometimes 14 hours a day with the same people all day long for months on end. And you get to know them way better than, some friends that you've known for 5, 10 years. So you really, yeah, you really form a family, and I think I love that because I love being around people and sharing in that sort of creative that creative vibe. They say when like men go to war together, they like
Mm.
bond together. They're under extreme circumstances. In some ways, doing film is kind of extreme circumstances. We're out in the freezing cold, which we were for Day of the Dead. It was brutal. We were so cold and out in the rain, and you're in the trenches with them, and so you form this kind of bond. And I think that's probably my favorite part, aside from just the love of performing and yeah, just putting on a show for people.
And what is the worst thing about the industry? I mean, what do you wish that could be changed?
Yeah, so I mean, I wonder sometimes why we're made to work for 12, 14 hours. I mean, I know why, it's money and all of that, but I look at like the crew that sometimes has to be there before we're there and often after we're gone, and having to drive home in horrible conditions, and that, you know, a lot of them can barely hang on to their relationships. It's not really an industry that um, is great for family life, for having children, and it's not really compassionate to that.
Mm.
And it's sad because we want to be in a good headspace and be not stressed to be able to like perform and do good work, but it's exhausting. It really is.
Mm.
And not just for us, but crew members specifically. I mean, they're at the grind all day long, and I wish we could do an 8-hour day, but
Richard Donner said in an interview in England when he was filming Superman the movie, they would only film from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they wouldn't go over that, and they had to have by union law 2 tea breaks and a lunch break. So I don't know
wow.
if it's the same now, but I mean, imagine that, and you saying that it would be great to have that time where you could go home after work and it'd be like a normal working day. Fair enough, it took 2 years to film that movie, but
Yeah.
yeah. So obviously, being an actor, we've talked about the rejections and the hard work, but I want to talk about Day of the Dead because so I had Christopher Russell on the show, and I've got to say he's definitely a genetically blessed human being,
I know.
literally perfect in every way. I think I had a bit of a man crush myself, to be fair. So if you could tell all our super viewers and listeners a bit about the show, who you play, which I think is an awesome character, a bit about Day of the Dead.
Yeah, so Day of the Dead is a story of a bunch of survivors, I mean, 6 in particular, that have to put aside their differences and their personal agendas and find a way to work together in order to save themselves, their loved ones, and their town.
Mm.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
and it is just an awesome show from the beginning up to now. As I said, I haven't seen the finale yet. But what attracted you to the role of Day of the Dead and a zombie series?
yeah, so I had auditioned like a long time before, and it's interesting because I had seen the breakdown and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And they were they didn't really bring me in for the role. And I had seen the Paula Bowman character and I was like, ooh, I would love this. But I was like, oh, they're probably not looking for me. Anyway, I taped it and I had the Sarah Palin glasses, the Sarah Palin look, and um, yeah, I put it out there. And then months later, when I was in Vancouver doing another film, actually with Chris Russell, we were doing a Hallmark movie together. And I was peeking over his shoulder and I saw Day of the Dead in his email, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you on hold too? Because I was on hold for the role. And anyway, we ended up booking it together when we were on that movie. But I've digressed. You asked me what drew me to it. The character, I mean, the writing was like Jed and Scott are just incredible writers, and the humor and the wit and the social commentary in the show. I was like, I have to play this character, and I sacrificed a lot to be up there for that period of time. But yeah, just to play that kind of dark, edgy character with so much going on underneath. I'm really drawn to those types of characters, and it's probably to date one of my most favorite characters I've ever played.
And how did you approach the role of Mir Bowman? Because I presume you're not like her in real life, or you might be. Who knows? But how did you approach the character in building, her?
So there's always, I think, an element of ourselves in characters. And I do often play very strong, demanding characters. And I have that in me. I'm one of those people that has no problem with confrontation. I'd take on a 300-pound dude in a dark alley if he was messing with me or someone I love, and like delusionally think that I could take him down. So I have that kind of like Chihuahua small person complex where I'm like, I'll just go after you. So I definitely, the determination, that mama bear protectiveness, that's all in me. And so I was able to like unleash that in Paula. As far as like the research that went into it, I loved the dialogue, and I think just getting that in my bones and deciding what was going on. Because I think there's always, underneath dark characters, there's always an onion to peel. There's something that's happened. There's some sort of trauma. And it's like that in real life too. Anybody who's got that darkness, we all have our stories, right? And so I was so interested in Paula's story. And after talking with Jed and Scott and kind of developing that more, yeah, getting to play almost this, she's this antagonist villain of some sort in the beginning, and this like intractable stereotype that's like right-wing, gun-loving. And when she starts seeing how her view and her politics are affecting the life of her son and the world around her, she's really forced into this awakening into why she got into this in the first place. And I think it's such a beautiful shift in the character, and she really like has a beautiful character arc. So it was really fun discovering that along the way, and you kind of like discover it as you're going too. You show up on the first day thinking, I got this character, and then you discover more and more every day.
I mean, watching the show, I've got to say, at the beginning, your character, I was like, she's not very nice. She's not very sort of likable. But she was funny. She was witty. And as the episodes have gone on, literally, slowly, you start to root for her. And it's really nice her realizing, the things with her family and her surroundings. So I think that was so well written and, performed by yourself. I mean, what has been your favorite scene to shoot? Because there's some awesome scenes. I mean, the makeup and the production is just outstanding. I mean, what was your favorite scene to shoot?
Honestly, there were so many in this. I loved working with Chris Russell and Caitlin Stryker. We had like that trio at the beginning. We had a lot of fun when we're creeping around the retirement home, and then we come in and there's, all the old people had been killed, and like running around opening closet doors and trying to find them. That we had a blast doing. And Chris and I just, we laughed so much. And then the scene where I'm chewing, like I sneak off to the back and I'm doing my chew, and he tries to kiss me, and it's disgusting. And that was pretty fun too. But the scenes where there's some comedy in them, where we're getting to play off each other, I think probably the stuff with Chris Russell and Caitlin Stryker were the most fun to shoot in the retirement home. We had the most fun.
And a bit of a trade secret, was that really chewing tobacco that you were chewing?
Actually, Props had made me they had cut up like vegan jerky or something. It was very salty. And I think it was vegan jerky, and they chopped it up really fine. And I had it stuck in there. Um, so it was very interesting, but no, the answer is no, because I wouldn't have done
Thank Thank goodness. I mean, obviously from the show, I mean, do you keep anything like as a memento from your shows or from Day of the Dead?
Yes, sometimes I do. From this production, they had mugs they were handing out, these Day of the Dead coffee mugs. So I got one for my dad because I knew he'd just like think it was so cool, and then gave one to my husband. So it's in our cupboard, so I get to see it every day. And I kept my blood-soaked, blood-stained pink blazer and my white shirt, so I'll always remember the bloody days of Day of the Dead.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I presume it's streaming currently on Sci-Fi, as well. Any episodes that you may have missed. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. So you need to get on it and watch it. I think it's a very nice, respectful nod to George Romero. It really is, because there's humor, there's tension. I think what they've done with the zombies, I think, are fantastic. And it's a great show, and I don't want it to end. I know I've got to watch the finale, but I don't want it to end. I want it to continue. But obviously, I mean, talking about your acting, you're also a singer and songwriter, and I've got to say, your latest song, which is "Any Kind of Love," which is available now. Literally, I suggest that to anyone that's stressed, anyone that wants to get lost. And honestly, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, how would you describe your music to someone?
People always ask me this, and I haven't been talking about music much, so I'm like unprepared to answer that. I'm, it's it's piano based, strings, a lot of harmonies, and it's like I'm trying to think even who to compare it to. I think there's like an ethereal quality to it. I like the strings and a lot of voices, and my producer had two pens, and he was like knocking on the wall on one of my songs called "A Little While," and just like doing this. Um, so I'm not doing a very good job, am I, of explaining my music?
To be honest, from my opinion, it's got a bit of a country sort of
Oh, interesting.
style to it, but not like your honky tonk sort of. It's got a very nice sort of. I don't know. It's not like Leanne Rhymes or anything like that, but it's just fantastic. And you released an EP, which was called First, which
Yeah.
again, Invisible on that is just a fantastic song. It makes me feel a bit. I love music because what it makes you feel, and I think that's the key, isn't it? I mean, was this the one that you had the Kickstarter campaign with?
Yep, yep, yep. This is the one that got funded by fans, and it was overfunded, and it was such a stressful thing. It took me 2 years just to get the Kickstarter campaign up because I was so nervous that nobody would jump on. And it's also it's really hard to ask for help too,
Mm.
and to that you deserve that, or that people will like your music enough to want to contribute. But once it went up and people were donating, it was just, my mind was blown, and I got to make, I even got to make the Invisible music video out of some of the leftover money. And so it was really such a blessing, and I just appreciate fans so much for having contributed.
And any plans on new music, new projects around the music?
Yeah, so I have a song that I've been working on, and everything that I write is very comes from something that's happening in my life. And Invisible was that. I think my husband, we weren't married yet, and I was going through some stuff, and I wrote that. Any Kind of Love was actually the song I wrote for my husband when I walked down the aisle at our wedding, and I never planned to release it. And it was a surprise for him. So he heard it for the first time as I was walking down the aisle. And it was really, really special. And it really comes from that deep place of love. Every word in there is what I feel about him, or felt about him. So anyway, it had got placed in a Hallmark movie, and there was such a huge response to it that people were like, "Are you going to release this?" And so I added some more production to it, and that's what you hear there. As far as new music, yes, I have a new song I've been working on. I also have a 4-year-old who likes to write when I'm writing, and we have some differences and creative differences. So it's been it's been challenging, definitely, to try to continue the writing, but it's something I'm aching to do, and hopefully in the near future I'll be releasing something else.
Oh, I can't wait. It's absolutely amazing. And obviously, the holiday season is in full swing. Hence, that's why I've got the background. And this episode is actually going to be released on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
So you're my Christmas Eve episode, because I had Wilson Cruz from Star Trek last year, and then I've got you for Christmas Eve. So what
I wish
plans
that
have you got?
Christmassy that I could have worn if I knew. I'm in
It's
my daughter's
fine.
room. Oh, this is not my bedroom. This is the only place I could go today to have some peace and quiet. So.
Bless you. I mean, any Christmas traditions that you have? Any holiday traditions?
So my family is Dutch, and so every year on December 5th, we put out our wooden shoes. And I did that as a child growing up. And Sinterklaas, which is Dutch version of Santa Claus, would come and give us chocolates and things like that. We missed that year with my daughter because I was filming, but that's a tradition I'd like to keep going. As far as we're going to Edmonton up in Canada to see my family, and we have some Dutch traditions with baking and the types of treats that we eat. And my husband's family's Italian, so they'll sometimes make cannolis and some Italian, and we'll get into a panettone and panettone, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
so
knew what
yeah,
you meant.
just yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And your go-to Christmas movie?
Oh, I love The Grinch with Jim Carrey. And Home Alone is on 100 times every year, so we end up watching that. And then, of course, my daughter has not yet seen my Hallmark Christmas movie, A Cookie Cutter Christmas, which was the silly little movie I did a while ago that ended up doing really well. And so we're gonna get into that this year.
And this is the thing about the UK. We've got the Hallmark channel, but they don't show much on there. And I want
Oh,
to see all these great movies. I mean, Chasing Waterfalls, which I think is the one with Christopher Russell
yeah.
and yourself, which apparently is massive over there, over the
Oh,
pond. And yeah, and your Christmas movie. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get that at some point over in the UK.
yeah. I
Um,
think it's there. I know there was like they had European sales. Like it should be over there somewhere.
Right. I'll
Um,
have a look. I'll have a look, and I'll link it to the description to the interview and get everyone watching it. So, Miranda, you've been a great guest. I'll let you get off to wrangling the little one, and keep safe and enjoy the holidays. As parents, we're very, very lucky to have gifts that are just these small little human beings that it's our
uh,
responsibility to grow into magnificent, peoples of the future. So I
uh,
can't wait, and it's great to see their faces on Christmas morning.
oh,
It really is. So Miranda, thank you so much.
thank you. Have a wonderful holiday, and thank you so much for having me.